good.
Okay, welcome everybody to the Beverly School Committee regular school committee meeting. Today is Wednesday, February 10th, 2021. We are meeting in a hybrid model today using a remote meeting platform that is provided at no cost to our district. We have BevCam with us today, broadcasting on both their channel and on YouTube streaming. This allows for public access to the open portions of the meeting. This is allowed under Mass General Law, Section 30A, which was suspended by the Governor's March 12, 2020 order entitled Order Suspending Certain Provisions of Open Meeting Law. This order specifically suspends the need for the quorum and the chair to be physically present, and also asks our body to use technical methods to allow for safe public access. We would encourage viewers to utilize the BevCam streaming options this evening, if possible. And we are also trying out a captioning tool while the city and BevCam look for a longer-term citywide solution. Tonight is a regular school committee meeting, which means that we do have an agenda item for addressing the body during our meeting. We encourage all constituents to email citizenconcerns@beverlyschools.org right now to be sent the Zoom link to be recognized to speak. Alternately, the chair will read your email remarks. They should be limited to approximately 3 minutes, if you would prefer. We do anticipate reaching this agenda item approximately 7:10 p.m. this evening. So again, if you wanted to be able to address the body this evening, please email citizenconcerns@beverlyschools.org right now to receive the Zoom link. And we already have one person who has signed up to address us. Joining us tonight are members of the school committee. A number of them are in person. We have a couple of remote participants and various members of the district administration and leadership teams. I will conduct a full roll call attendance for the record to make sure that we capture all those who are participating. Okay, please remember that any audio or video that you do supply on this remote meeting platform will become part of the meeting record. And as such, we encourage you to use your mute functionality to prevent background noises. Similarly, you can turn off your video to stop supplying video feed. The chair will call for you to unmute when you are being recognized. Okay, members, I'd now like to conduct a roll call to confirm that you can both see and hear us. In the room right now, we have Mayor Cahill.
Yes.
We have Kimberly Coelho.
Yes.
Remotely, we have Dr. Ken Ann McKenzie.
Yes.
And in the room, we have Ms. Karen Robinson,
Yes.
Mr. John Mulady.
Yes.
Remotely participating, we have Ms. Lorinda Visnick,
Yes.
and I am Rachel Abel. Also with us here in person are Dr. Chirocek, Donna Bergeron, Jean Sherburne, Dr. Andre Morgan, Ms. Lisa Oliver, and Ms. Betty Taylor. Remotely participating this evening, we have Ms. Bethany Splansky and Dr. Flaherty. Yep, there we go. Yeah, and our student representative, Jaslyn Abbott, is with us. And as I mentioned, we have VJ or Vincent Ochino, who will be part of our agenda during the remarks to the school committee. Also, Josh Mullen is still with us. He is also one of our student representatives. With that, since we are in a remote meeting situation, all of our votes and actions tonight will be taken by a roll call vote. The chair will call in alphabetical order, excepting the chair who will go last. And we are recording this meeting as a backup to our BevCam broadcast. With that, may I ask Mr. Mulady to lead us in the pledge this evening?
I pledge allegiance to the
Flag of the United States of America and to the republic
And to the republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Mr. Mulady. And it is my great pleasure to ask Ms. Lisa Oliver to present our middle school student, Anya Patel, as our 351 ambassador.
It is my pleasure to introduce you to Anya Patel. She is well loved by both teachers and students. She
Thank you.
Want to try it again?
I will introduce her again with the mic.
Hear it again.
It's my pleasure to introduce you to Anya Patel, and her parents are here with us as well. Anya is well loved by teachers, by students, and she is a quiet leader, but a strong leader. She's generally kind and caring. She always strives to do her best and strives forward with a growth mindset and learns from mistakes, and we could not be more proud of her. Congratulations.
Anya, come on up here for a second. So this is for you. Congratulations, and we look forward to the great things that you're going to do. Project 351 is an awesome experience, and so I look forward to hearing what you do and how you do it and watching you as you go. So thank you very much. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yes, congratulations, Anya. It's a great distinct honor to have that privilege and to serve as a representative for Beverly. We do look forward to hearing more about what project you select, and if we can be of any assistance, don't hesitate to reach out to us to spread the word on whatever project it is that you choose. Congratulations. Okay. You're welcome to stay for a meeting, but we do understand if you have homework to do this evening and you want to leave, but you can choose. Our next, yeah, thank you, congratulations. Okay, our next exciting, not very exciting, order of business is to approve meeting records, and Ms. Bergeron recognized that we had one approved set of meeting records from our retreat. If you'll remember, we met on November 9th, 2020, in a committee of the whole. Those retreat minutes were included in the packet, so what I would like to ask for now is a motion to approve.
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Robinson. Thank you, Ms. Coelho. Were there any edits, corrections, or adjustments? Seeing no hands, I'll take a roll call vote. Mayor Cahill,
Yes.
Kimberly Coelho,
Yes.
Ken-Ann McKenzie.
Shall I abstain since I was not on the committee?
That is a very good choice. Thank you. Okay. Ms. Robinson.
Yes.
Sometimes when they're on BevCam, you can kind of play catch up, but that one was not. So, Mr. Mulady.
Yes.
Okay. Ms. Visnick.
Yes.
And Rachel Abel, yes. So by a vote of 6 with 1 abstention, those records have been approved. We also have our January 13th, 2021 regular school committee minutes in our packet. Is there a motion to approve? Thank you, Mayor Cahill. And a second? Thank you, Ms. Coelho. Were there any edits or corrections that we wanted to make on that set of minutes? Seeing no hands, I believe we're ready for a roll call vote. Mayor Cahill?
Yes.
Okay. Ms. Coelho?
Yes.
Dr. McKenzie?
Yes.
Ms. Robinson?
Yes.
Mr. Mulady?
Yes.
Ms. Visnick?
Yes.
And Ms. Abel, yes. By a vote of 7-0, we have approved those meeting records. And now, we're a little bit early. As I mentioned at the start of our session, we have an open forum for citizen concerns or input related to agenda items. The president will consider requests to address the school committee for any items that are either included or not included as part of the agenda tonight. Any person who wishes to make a request should have emailed the citizen concerns at beverlyschools.org before 7 p.m. or in the last few moments. I would first like to welcome Vincent Ochino. If you would, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the committee allowing me to speak. I know I should keep this to about 3 minutes, and I think I can. As you said, my name is Vincent Ochino. I have a high school sophomore. She's almost halfway done with her high school career and has been learning at home more than she's been in the building. I've reached out to the committee via email, and I really appreciate John Mulady getting back to me. I'm gravely concerned with the fact that we've not reopened the schools and we currently don't have a plan as to when. I understand the decision the committee made to close the schools. I remember watching that on BevCam. I disagreed with it, but I understood that at the time data was hard to come by and we didn't really understand the disease. But I think, now we have mounting scientific data that not only is opening schools safe, but that remote learning is causing serious harm to our children in some cases. Personally, as a parent, observing my child and witnessing how they're suffering in different ways, I mean, you can see the challenges they have trying to learn remotely, the lack of social contact with their peers. All the teachers I've encountered are superb educators. They're driven to help our children. They're absolutely trying their best. But they also readily share with parents like me that it's really impossible to give students the full learning experience in this environment. They'll mention topics that are skipped or concepts that are left out or other barriers that they have because of the constraints they're under. President Biden has called for the reopening of schools. The CDC issued a report last month stating that schools can be and should be reopened safely. My son is a student at Saints Academy in Beverly. It's been open throughout the pandemic with no COVID exposure in the school environment. We see a lot. I know you're seeing the same things in the media. Governor Gavin Newsom in California noted with regard to opening schools, if we wait for the perfect, we might as well never open schools. For instance, if issues like a new HVAC system for the high school is going to be the reason why we don't reopen, we might as well tell parents their students are never coming back. Certainly mine won't. We're never going to have a reopening plan, in my opinion, completely without risk. But the science says that with basic precautions, masks, it's safe to reopen now. We're not going to tick every box that in a perfect world we'd want to in order to reopen these schools. I personally think as a parent, it should be the parent who decides if they send their children to school, not the school board. Similarly with teachers, they have the option to work or not to work. Many other businesses are open and functioning, but I think our most important business is closed. I just want to close with something that was posted on the Garden City Pediatrics, I think, Facebook page. We are scientists, and the data clearly shows that students and teachers are quite safe to be in school right now with the mitigation measures currently in place. Science and not emotion should govern our decisions. Schools are safe. There's broad consensus on this point among epidemiologists and infectious disease specialists. But the important issue that cannot be denied is that many children are suffering in remote or hybrid school. As pediatricians, we are seeing multiple patients every single day, this is in Beverly, who are suffering because of the isolation. These are middle school and high school students who spend all day crying or contemplating suicide. They are depressed and anxious. They have panic attacks. These are kids who previously got all A's who are now failing. Kids who are star athletes who can't play their sports. Kids who are socially connected who are cut off from their support networks. And kids who were already suffering before COVID who now feel they have nothing to live for. So with the science demonstrating that it's safe to be in school for students and teachers alike, we need to keep this very real mental health epidemic in mind and open schools. I just want the committee to know I'll do whatever I can to keep bringing this issue to light and fight for these students. And if there's any way I can help the school committee, please let me know. And thanks again for the time.
Thank you, Mr. Aquino, for reaching out to us and for sharing those thoughts. Ms. Bergeron, do we have any others? I have one printed email from earlier. Okay, we have no new signups, so the chair will read an email from Mr. John Taylor, John and Maureen Taylor of 41 Cole Street. Dear School Committee, I have a question that I was told to send to this email to the chair of the school committee so that it could be read to the school committee meeting. I was told by the superintendent's office that there would be no opportunity for direct public comment on the topic. We recognize that the school committee put a lot of effort into planning for 2020, walking through schools and having long conversations about remote versus full in-person versus hybrid. We recognize that and appreciate what you have done. Now it is time to think about 2021. What have the mayor's and city council's reaction been to the superintendent's and school committee's reach out to possibly using closed city buildings for public school instruction? Spitballing here, but I would think that the council could easily order the Beverly Public Library to provide the schools exclusive access to the Beverly Room, which probably seats 16 in a socially distanced way. The Senior Center easily seats 50 students in a socially distanced way, if not more, in their second-floor auditorium, which was used for the master plan workshops, and there is a nurse there. And I am confident that the City Council chambers would be a fantastic civics lesson just in and of itself, and would easily fit one class of one cohort. I believe all of these rooms and buildings that have been closed since March of 2020. Since the vaccine rollout has been so spotty and there is no approved vaccine at all for kids below BHS sophomores, we must start to think outside the box. Beverly parents need a plan for September 2021, not a punt. Respectfully, BHS parents and kids are fed up with remote and hybrid learning. Have you tried taking a BHS culinary via Google Meet? Yeah, good luck with that. Thank you for all that you do. John and Maureen Taylor, 41 Cole Street. Thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Taylor. Okay, the next item is our items by consensus, and then we'll hear from Jaslyn Abbott. So the committee was provided with a list of warrants, A, B, C, and D on the agenda. May I have a motion to approve those items by consensus?
So moved.
Thank you, Mayor Cahill. And a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Robinson. We'll do a roll call vote. Mayor Cahill,
Yes.
Ms. Coelho,
Yes.
Dr. McKenzie,
Yes.
Ms. Robinson,
Yes.
Mr. Milady,
Yes.
Ms. Visnick,
Yes.
and Ms. Abel. Items by consensus have been approved. Ms. Abbott, the floor is now yours if you'd like to give us your student report.
Hi, thank you. Okay, so to start off, on the 13th, there were changes to the immunization requirements for all high school students, where the flu vaccine is now required on or before February 28th, as well as 2 doses of the meningitis vaccine. You can drop off the most recent physical exams that you have, either preferably in person or through email. January 19th, the BHS Science League had a virtual meet. Following that, on the 26th, juniors had their PSATs. And on the 28th, students can meet with the North Shore Community College for a virtual application walkthrough event where students could get their questions answered. Following that, there was also an update on the 28th for Bhs Scholarship Information. So students can go to the bhsonline.org website under resources, and there's a standard scholarship list for 2021 with information on how to apply for scholarships and an application form that is provided. And the end of semester 1 was January 31st, and February 1st was the start of semester 2, where Ms. Taylor released a video clarifying schedule changes. That was also the start of concurrent teaching, and students began all new classes with the hybrid schedule. February 2nd, remote learning day. There was a remote learning day due to the weather. On February 3rd, there was a baseball Zoom meeting, and students can contact Coach Cahill via email for more information. February 5th is the yearbook senior portrait deadline, as well as report cards. February 5th, there was also the BHS Alice in Wonderland that was broadcasted on BevCam channel 22 at 8 p.m. February 7th, there's a fall 2 sports registration that is now open for football, cheer, volleyball, and indoor boy and girl track. February 9th, the BHS virtual open house from 6:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. And February 9th to 10th, the National Honor Society Candygram fundraiser was for all the students. February 10th, the Beverly yearbook ad deadline, so that's today. You can order your yearbook and find the website on the bhsonline.org page for your yearbook ads, where you can personalize your senior yearbook with like messages and commemorate certain achievements and important milestones that you've had throughout the school year. And then some upcoming events. So February 11th, networking night for student senior internships. And February 13th, the class of 2021 fundraiser from 5 to 9 at Chipotle, 55 Dodge Street. The week of 2/15 is going to be February vacation, and classes resume on the 22nd.
Thank you so much, Jaslyn, for that report. We appreciate your presence. And as I offered to our other student who was here, and Mr. Millen as well, you are welcome to drop off and do your homework, or you can stay and watch this exciting civic meeting unfold.
Thank you.
Okay. So for school committee updates, I just have 2 orders of business. We are playing a little bit of catch up right now with our superintendent evaluations. We need to get last year's out of the way and begin this year's so that we'd be able to properly have the evaluations in place for Dr. Chirocek. Just prior to this meeting this evening, the negotiating subcommittee had a review with Dr. Chirocek for the DESE streamlined evaluation objectives, indicators, and I will just tell you that the negotiating subcommittee voted unanimously to recommend those to the entire school committee for approval. And then thank you to those of you who were able to finish last year's evaluation and get those to Donna. We'll be picking those up at our committee of the whole meeting on the 24th of February to formally approve the aggregated evaluation for last year. So I think our only action tonight is to review and approve the 2021 goals that Dr. Chirocek shared with us in the packet. And I'll let you just explain to the other members who weren't here. Yes, go for it.
This is really leading into my superintendent's report, but at the beginning I had information regarding the student, my goals for the 2021 school year. I know that you have in your packet the longer narrative form of what those goals, what the goal areas are, as well as what the indicators are for this. It's actually for this year that we're currently in. So the first section is the area on the goals. For student learning goals, the proposed goals that I made to the negotiating committee was that through the 2021 school year, through the implementation of district and building goals, and it was really important to me that we stay focused on our district improvement plan and that we align the goals that I have with the district improvement plan, which align with school improvement plans and with all of the educator plans throughout the district. Looking at those inclusive practices, instructional design, and rigorous curriculum. We will be using a measure of substantial progress of a minimum of 30% on district design measures. I chose to use the district design measures this year because the MCAS measures didn't materialize in the 1920 school year. We're not sure what we'll have for data coming into the next year. So we have a data cycle that we use within the district, and so I'm basing my goal on the substantial progress on the district determined measures that we already have in place. The second goal is a professional practice goal, and that really was to take the findings from my first year in this role as superintendent to facilitate an update of the district strategy for improvement. As I explained to the negotiating committee, we have a 3-year district improvement plan that ends on June 30th of this year. Rather than embark on a 3-year planning process in the midst of the pandemic over the course of this year, the administrative team had met and we determined that we would aim for a 1-year plan for the 2021-22 school year, which would incorporate the reopening, the recovery, and the restructuring or whatever we have to do in terms of returning to school. And so that the presentation of that would be around the district strategy for improvement plan for a 1-year plan. My district improvement goal is to support and to continue to support the district-wide investigation of policies and practices that serve as barriers for students and staff as they interact effectively in a culturally diverse environment. That really is a heavy focus on equity, taking a look at what the research that's happening as Dr. Morgan and I dig into our equity audit and taking the recommendations from some of that equity audit and transforming those into goals for the coming year. And then finally, the second district improvement plan is to continue to improve on communication with the development of a new website and improved social media presence and the use of other technologies as methods of communication. We've heard a lot of feedback throughout the past year and a half about the confusion that multiple platforms cause, the dissemination of information, and making sure that we're clear and transparent about what our primary sources of communication are and how we're communicating with families. So that was a goal that I felt was really fitting for us as we go into this school year. So those are the goals. In terms of indicators, much like we did this past year, we're utilizing the indicator rubric for the performance indicators. And this year, the Department of Ed had issued for all school districts focus indicators based upon the current status of the pandemic and the variety of modes of delivery of instruction that schools are engaging in. And so I shared with the committee what that guidance looked like from DESE, as well as what those 6 indicators would be for me for this school year. So.
Thank you, Dr. Churchak. Does anyone have questions, clarifying questions at this point? Ms. Visnick, it looks like you have a question? No, just holding something up.
No, sorry, I'm stuck in my chair and I'm waving to a family member to bring me something, sorry.
I do have a question.
Dr. McKenzie, you're recognized.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair. I do have a question with regard to measuring the goals around communication. Is there some thought to how we can ascertain better engagement? Will it be a technology that, for example, lets us see how families are opening the links or accessing the ways that the communication changes?
Yeah, that's a great question. We actually, because now we're midway through the year, we actually have gone through and have selected a new provider for our website, and that provider has analytics available to us as to who's accessing, as well as what I think is really important, a connection between platforms. So if a message goes out on one platform, it can easily be disseminated out to different social media platforms, so the same message is being sent out across all of the areas. And it does provide us with analytic feedback as to how often it's being accessed, in what languages it's being accessed, because there is an opportunity for translation services within that, as well as we're not rolling this out immediately, but there's an opportunity for broadcast from it as well. So what we're trying to do is eliminate a number of different providers that we've been utilizing and find one that can kind of do everything. I think the most important part of the website is that it's much more user intuitive. So one of the problems that we have is it's really difficult to post on our website if you're on the user end. And so this is going to provide something that's much more easily utilized by the building leaders and different people that need to access it. So thank you.
Great, thank you.
I'm looking around the room to see if there's any other questions.
Ms. Visnick. Ms. Visnick.
Is she for real this time? Okay, go ahead, Ms. Visnick, you're recognized.
Thank you, I'm sorry. I wish to ask about the wording in column 4 around cultural proficiency. These are someone else's words, right? Not our own. Because if they are our own words, I'm thinking that I would much rather see cultural, I'd rather see some other words there. I'm not sure that proficient is the word that I would choose, right? When we talk about cultural competency and responsiveness, and there's a lot of pieces to that. So I'm just wondering where these words came from.
Yep. Those are actually the words that are in the Department of Ed evaluation system. So that's not a word that I invented. But I think in the essence of it is, working to develop and implement a culturally responsive policies and practices is a really important part of that, along with making sure that we're providing staff with the relevant resources to support them in building what they need to build for culture within the building. So the essence of it, I think, is spot on to what you're thinking.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm not seeing any other hands. I would kindly suggest I receive a motion to approve the superintendent's 2021 goals.
So moved.
Thank you, Mayor Cahill. Does someone want to second the motion? Thank you, Mr. Milady. We have a motion and a second to accept and approve the superintendent's 2021 goals as presented to us in our packet and by Dr. Churchick this evening. If there's no more comments, any comments, we can do a roll call vote. Mayor Cahill?
Yes.
Ms. Coelho?
Yes.
Dr. McKenzie?
Yes.
Ms. Robinson?
Yes.
Mr. Milady?
Yes.
Ms. Visnick?
Yes.
And Ms. Abel? Yes, that's 7-0. Time is 7:30. And I believe, Dr. Churchick, the next item is for your reports.
Yes, thank you. So the first thing that I would like to do in terms of my update is to present information regarding the school calendar. This is that time of year again when we take a look to the next school year in terms of the dates that we set for the school year 21-22. I tried to identify highlights that I thought would be salient that you'd be looking at. The start of the year is proposed to be Monday, August 30th, with all staff reporting. That would be teachers and paras, all staff. Actually, on Tuesdays, it's just teachers. The paras do not report on that second day. And then on Wednesday, grades 1 through 12 begin. And there would be no school on Friday because there's no school on the Friday before Labor Day. Kindergarten, once again, we followed this process with kindergarten last year. We do not have the opportunity to do the screenings again this spring. We received reports from both parents and faculty and administrators that the opportunity to hold screenings and the orientations at the beginning of the year were extremely helpful in transitioning our youngest students in. So kindergarten, the proposal is to begin on Wednesday, September 8th. Those screenings and orientations will be held in the week between September 1st and September 7th by appointment. And then preschool would begin on Thursday, September 9th. The last day of school right now is scheduled for Tuesday, June 21st. And the last day with 5 snow days would be Tuesday, June 28th. We don't really know right now what the availability or the desire to use or what we would be doing around remote options for snow days. So we want to continue to make sure that we note on the calendar that if we had 5 traditional snow days, the last day would be June 28th. The calendar includes 5 professional development days. Those are listed in here. The first 2 days, the 2 days prior to the start of the school year, are professional development, as well as the 21st of September, which is primary day, the 2nd of November, which is election day, and then we have December 10th, which we have utilized grades, I think, through 8th grade now for parent conferences. So those days are listed in the calendar, and it does include 5 early release days. One of them is the day before Thanksgiving, which is traditionally a half day, as well as the 9th of December, the 14th of January, the 11th of March, and the 27th of May. And then finally, one note, it does include the Juneteenth observance of Juneteenth Day, which this year, as best as we can discern from the governor's office and from the Secretary of State's, the Secretary's office, is Monday, June 20th, and we would be observing Juneteenth on that day. So I don't know if there are questions.
Thank you. Do any school committee members wish to ask any clarifying questions before we entertain a motion?
Ms. Visnick.
I never know if I can trust that hand anymore, Ms. Visnick. You are recognized.
Thank you. I used the icon to be more formal. I wish to ask about the very first week. So I opened my calendar on my computer, and so students would go on Wednesday, September 1st, and Thursday the 2nd, and then they would have a 4-day weekend due to Labor Day.
Yes.
Is that correct? I just
Yes.
want to make sure that's correct.
Yes.
So the first week they'd be in school 2 days, and the second week they'd be in school 4 days.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
I'm looking to see if any other members have clarifying questions before we entertain a motion to approve the calendar. I'm not seeing any questions. Does someone want to make a motion?
So move.
Okay, I saw Ms. Coelho first because I was turned that way, and Mayor Cahill, I'll take you
Then
as a
I'll
second.
second her motion gladly.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second to accept the draft 21-22 school year calendar as presented by Dr. Chorocek and provided in our packet. If there's no further discussion, I will do a roll call vote. Mayor Cahill,
Yes.
Ms. Coelho,
Yes.
Dr. McKenzie,
Yes.
Ms. Robinson,
Yes.
Mr. Milady,
Yes.
Ms. Bisnick,
Yes.
and Ms. Abel, yes. We have a calendar, and I know constituents, this has been the number one question. What's next year's start date? So thank you, everyone. We will have that published to our district website.
Okay, all right, thank you. And then the next item that I have in the updates, this is actually just a reminder. We will, and we had talked a little bit in the last meeting about what the testing plan would be. We will be conducting some surveillance testing, once again in partnership with the City of Beverly, utilizing the Cataldo ambulance partnership that we've established so far. Those dates are scheduled for February 25th and 26th. That's for city employees and families. The Cataldo ambulance will once again administer the individual nasal swab PCR tests. And again, I think one of the just for data purposes, all the data that is collected there is entered into that Maven dashboard that we talked about before and collected by the Board of Health. So that's really more just an informational reminder that we're doing that. And then finally, just a point of clarification, we made a small shift in our travel policy, working with the city. So the change to the travel guidelines for employment, for employees, originally the travel guidelines said that they had to receive a negative COVID test 72 hours after returning to the state from out-of-state travel. We are now aligned with what the governor's travel order is, and so that guidance is that within 72 hours of travel. So making sure, just to make that distinction, that any employee, really, if you look carefully and follow, we're not really encouraging a lot of travel for people, really, but in the event that someone does need to travel out of state, the policy for returning would be to get a negative COVID test within 72 hours of returning to the state. And you need to have that test result to return to work. So, and that is the same travel guidance that we have for families. I have received a couple of inquiries from families, and I will be sending out another reminder just to let them know. But the travel policy is from the state down, so that is not an individual Beverly policy. If you travel out of state right now to any low-risk states, then you are required to do this. And right now, I think the only low-risk state is Hawaii.
You gotta go.
So maybe we should all go to Hawaii. So I just wanted to make that point of clarification for everyone, so.
Do we have any other questions for Dr. Chorocek? I don't see any hands. Thank you, Dr. Chorocek.
All right, thank you.
Okay, we've reached the portion of our meeting where we will hear from the chairs of our standing and subcommittees. First up, Ms. Bisnick, if you could give us a report on the Standing Committee of Finance and Facilities this evening, we would be appreciative.
Thank you, and I apologize for not being there in person. As I mentioned a second ago, I'm a little laid up. I did something to one of my knees, so I'm trying to deal with that. So the Standing Committee on Finance and Facilities, when we last met, we went over our Building and Grounds report from Mr. Collins, and that report informed us that the conversion of the HVAC to digital control is basically complete, except for punch list items and commissioning at the Hannah School. This is our last school to receive a complete conversion, which greatly increases our control and visibility of our HVAC equipment. Our special guest was Ms. Spolansky, our Administrator of Special Ed and PPS. She gave us an overview. It's always a wonderful presentation. If you missed it, luckily for us, BevCam taped it. An overview of our special education department. The highlights of that overview are that our eligibility rate remains between 20 and 21% for special education services. our out-of-district enrollment has decreased. Our new out-of-district placements and move-in rates have remained low, and we have received 3 students that have tuitioned in. So that's good for us because then we get their tuitions. Despite our out-of-district enrollments being down, the costs have remained approximately consistent as the placements the cost changes. So the numbers change, the costs change. Increased tuition rates, the tuition rates have increased by approximately 3%. Our circuit breaker reimbursement has remained steady. We have continued growth in our severe needs program at Cove, the middle school, and the high school. We are continually monitoring this increased enrollment, right? Just like our regular enrollment, there are times when we might have to open a new classroom, so it's being very closely watched. The department in general is expanding and strengthening its inclusive services. Ms. Spolansky explained the tiered focus monitoring or TFM program, which is district reviewed through a 6-year cycle, and there will be an on-site verification in March of 2021, so next month. Okay, that was our special ed report. Then Jean, our wonderful Director of Finance and Operations, gave an administrative update. We've started discussing the FY22 budget development calendar. We have an increased revenue changes in circuit breaker and school choice. We're reviewing, we always review at our meetings the revenue and expenditure reports. And then that brings us to the actual money portion, and the portion for which we hopefully will have all of you agree to vote on. In particular, the Standing Committee on Finance and Facilities recommends the approval of the following grants for FY21. Grant number 274, the IDEA Special Education Program Improvement Grant in the amount of $31,346. I would like to offer that as a motion.
I'll second. Are there any questions? I can call the roll. Mayor Cahill?
Yes.
Ms. Coelho?
Yes.
Dr. McKenzie?
Yes.
Ms. Robinson?
Yes.
Mr. Milady?
Yes.
Ms. Bisnick?
Yes.
And Ms. Abel. We accept with gratitude those grants. And next?
Fantastic. Our next grant is number 298, Early Childhood Targeted Special Education Program Development and Safety Grant in the amount of $3,964. I would like to offer that as a motion.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Visnick, for the motion, and Mayor Cahill for the second. Are there any questions or conversations? Not seeing any, I'll call the roll. Mayor Cahill?
Yes.
Ms. Coelho?
Yes.
Dr. McKenzie?
Yes.
Ms. Robinson?
Yes.
Mr. Milady? Ms. Visnick?
Yes.
And Ms. Abel, yes. The motion has passed, and we accept that with gratitude.
Excellent. We now have a series of gifts to schools. Would you like them individually, Madam Chair, or do we want me to read the total?
They are detailed in our agenda, and they are totaled, so you can read them if you wish, but I think we can accept them en masse.
As one motion. Fantastic. The Standing Committee on Finance and Facilities recommends the approval of the following gifts to schools from December of 2020. The first, a BHS Cummings Center staff giving directed to the string orchestra in the amount of $1,000. The second, another BHS Cummings Center staff giving also directed to the Beverly String Orchestra in the amount of $1,000. For BHS, a Henry DeJong vaping survey in the amount of $1,118. At the Hannah School, a Cummings Center staff giving earmarked for general use of $1,000. A district-wide food service department lunch for the staff at an amount of $500 for a total of $4,618. I would like to offer that as a motion to accept.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Visnick and Ms. Robinson for the second on that motion. Are there any questions? I will call the roll. Mayor Cahill?
Yes.
Ms. Coelho,
Yes.
Dr. McKenzie,
Yes.
Ms. Robinson,
Yes.
Mr. Milady,
Yes.
Ms. Bisnick,
Yes.
Ms. Abel, yes. By 7-0, we super gratefully accept these gifts to our schools. We so appreciate all of these organizations for providing for our students. Thank you.
Right. So I would be remiss if I did not say that I think the Cummings Center is a wonderful community partner, and their employees have this option to give out money, and the fact that any given Cummings Center employee chooses the Beverly Public Schools is just fantastic. So extra big thanks to that wonderful community partner. The Standing Committee on Finance and Facilities is scheduled to next meet on February 24th. A little earlier than normal. We're scheduled to meet at 6:30 in the evening. Our guest speaker will be the athletic director, and hopefully we'll hear from him about the different sports schedules, the different seasons, how our participation numbers are going, and therefore how the expected income from the sports department is going. Whether we've saved any costs, et cetera, et cetera. So again, an early start, because then we have a stacked meeting after hours. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. If anybody has any specific questions for Mr. Keefe, the athletic director, I'm gonna guess that if you get them to me within the next day, if you get them to Jean or I, we can maybe get them to Dan before Mr. Keefe, before vacation starts, and then he'll have time to answer them, prepare an answer for them.
Thank you for that invitation to pass questions along to Mr. Keefe. And thank you for the reminder that, yes, on the 24th, we'll be stacking our meetings, the facility and finance going at 6:30, and our committee of the whole will be at 7:30. Thank you. Next up, our Standing Committee on Curriculum, Instruction, and Student Life. Mr. Milady, if you would,
Thank you very
please.
much. We last met on February 3rd, and our meeting started out with the recognition of two members of our Beverly School community, Miss Virginia Betts and our librarian, Miss Alex Wozniak. So Virginia was honored from a field of high school juniors in the 2020 Art All-State. So they were given a prompt. Over 100 students participated, and the prompt was to create a human-esque form showing vulnerabilities and resilience, and the style of art was using wall tape. So it's hard to explain, but we have a presentation. It was filmed courtesy of BevCam. The artwork was absolutely amazing. Hearing Virginia talk about her theme, and one of the things she tried to capture in her artwork was that she was forced to become flexible because of the pandemic. It was absolutely beautiful, and it's going to be on display at the Worcester Art Museum, and at some point, hopefully the museum will give us the public access to see all the artwork that was submitted and recognized. So congratulations to Virginia. We also have to congratulate our librarian. She is, and this, I'm not making this up, she's a super librarian. That's the official title. It's recognized, or she was recognized by the Massachusetts School Librarian Association. So congratulations to Ms. Alex Wozniak. And now I think we have two super librarians residing in the district right now. And then our school spotlight, or one of our spotlight schools, was Hannah Elementary School. And we also spotlighted the after-school program at BMS and the after-dark program at BHS. So from Hannah, we heard from Ms. Gabrielle Montevecchi, and the focus at Hannah this year, like all our elementary schools, are social emotional learning, outdoor classrooms, and culturally responsive teaching. Hannah Elementary has formed a partnership with Ms. Victoria Hackett, who's a parent and educator in the city, with a focus on outdoor classrooms. In addition, we found out that two members of the Hannah staff have received certification in social emotional learning, and they've been working with other staff members on this school-wide focus. And for work being done for culturally responsive teaching, there are several highlights, including grades K through 2, read The Day You Begin, and grades 3 through 4 read Amina's Voice. And these books are part of an ongoing professional development that is hopefully trying to increase representation of non-white authors, characters, and points of view across the curriculum. At Beverly Middle School, we learned about some new offerings that were provided to our already robust extracurricular activities. We have a virtual after-school business program, and this is a great example of great things happening here in Beverly, as BHS seniors are teaming up with BMS students as part of their project. So it sounds like a mini DECA program, and I think these kids will be able to explain what happened with GameStop better than I ever could. So we're looking forward to hearing what they're able to accomplish. Some other new programs that were announced this year. We have a student council, an art club, an equity club, a peer leader club, a yearbook club, a newspaper, and a drama club. So this is all incredible, thinking about how this year has started out for these students and teachers. So thank you very much to the staff at BMS. And the high school after dark program, I said this at the end of our meeting, this is one of the last meetings we had in public before we switched, and we approved this as a body. And hearing Principal Taylor talk about the program, it gave me chills knowing that this was able to run so effectively. So very briefly, we have 13 high school juniors enrolled in the program. It's a partnership with Essex North Shore Agricultural and Technical School. Try saying that 5 times fast. This is a 2-year program, and our juniors who are mastering multiple schedules and leaving here and being transported to Essex Aggie, I'll just make it short, are focusing on advanced manufacturing, automotive collision repair and refinishing, design and visual communication, constructive craft laborers, sustainable horticulture, automotive technology, electricity, and plumbing. So these kids are absolutely rock stars, and we're looking forward to having the partnership and the number of students continue to grow. For our focus topic points at the elementary schools, we looked at PE, fine arts, performing arts, and then STEM. And we got a special shout out to our specialists who have been working with our classroom teachers on integrating programs and curriculum. Our specialists are playing the role of superheroes this year. They play significant support roles for our teachers, covering their absences, helping out with small group interventions, covering for para absences and vacancies, and also covering for our general ed teachers in order for those teachers to attend special education meetings and programs. And they're also providing additional social emotional support for our students in need. And thanks to the work of our staff, and a special shout out to Mr. Settenwood, we're getting monthly reports of logins for our specialist program. So the district is collecting this data, and we're seeing which schools and what grade level are students participating and logging in. And we're looking forward to looking at those numbers more at a later date. In terms of sports at the middle school, congrats to our field hockey programs. They had a successful but shortened season. And also congratulations to our cross-country team. Mr. Twombly presented this information, and he included in the presentation that the future looks bright as we increase the numbers of our students participating. We looked at how the middle school, how chorus, strings, and band is a little bit different this year, what's working and what's not working. And one of the biggest takeaways in my notes is that while the number of participants has dropped about 20%, we're optimistic about having teaming up with the high school and the elementary schools to try and show students the benefits of sticking with the program or starting the program later on. And finally, what we're seeing is that the students who have been participating in these music programs are having some benefits of taking part in something that they really like to do and like to get a chance to do. And now to our focus points at the high school. We have our numbers on the number of students who participated in band, chorus, and strings, and we've seen the numbers stay relatively consistent with a little bit of a dip in chorus and a little bit of a dip in strings. And then for the high school program of studies, I'm going to apologize, Ms. Taylor. I should have asked you if you wanted to talk about this now, or
I'll just follow the agenda, I guess.
okay.
I think I'm.
Well, it's at this portion of the agenda, we have Ms. Taylor here.
Perfect.
The school committee was provided a link to the program of studies at the high school. And I think, Mr. Milady, the action from the
So
standing committee.
we're making the recommendation. I'm going to need and consider this a motion to approve of the new courses being offered at BHS for the 2021-2022 school year, which are available in your package.
Okay, so Mr. Milady's made a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Robinson. And Ms. Taylor, do you want to give any of the highlights for those members who maybe missed the curriculum instruction student life meeting?
Yes, thank you very much, Chairman Abel. There is one correction I need to put in. I just looked at my email before I got here, and it's not great news, but we're still pretty strong about the Essex After Dark program. Essex Tech did withdraw the opportunity for our students to be in the electrical program, but they've still added several other new programs, and the program itself will still exist. So that's the only change that's not in your version right now. I do want to make sure I say thank you to my assistant principal, Ms. Julie Ferrara, and her secretary, Ms. Andrea Burgess, because they worked on setting up the program of studies, and I hope you appreciated the links they put in there instead of page numbers anymore. We made sure it was electronically working well. Basically, I just wanted to talk about very briefly the courses we are offering that are new. And I won't go into a lot of details, but I can answer questions as people have them. We're going to offer a course called My Future and Career Success. Comes under the category of career education. We're working very hard to create a career pathways program. We do have a pathways in business, but we want to develop one in health science and also environmental science. And the recommendation, whether we do innovative pathways with the state or even take a look at early college, is that students need an introductory course that talks about the kind of job skills that they need to begin to develop. And so we're going to offer this as an elective this year and tweak it as it goes along. And this is open to 10th grade. The other thing we hope to pursue is that students will have a general industry OSHA credential at the end of the course. We're offering a new geography course in the social studies department. Also in social studies, the staff is working on an American identities course. We have 2 courses that we think will support students with the concerns about gaps for this year. So we're going to offer an algebra essentials, and that will be for 9th graders, and a geometry essentials, which will be for 10th graders. And what that course will do is first identify any student deficits in the basic information for each of those math courses, but also supplement support because the students will be taking their algebra or geometry course as they're taking this course. So it will also sort of shadow the major concepts in the required math courses that they're taking. We're also going to do that with recommendations. Any student can sign up for it, but we will target students that we feel may need the extra support in math and speak to their parents about this possibility. We're also going to create a new course called World Cultures. Our intent is to take a look at, through the eyes of a teen, the different aspects of culture in at least 4 different countries. 2 of them will probably be part of what we regularly offer in our world language, but we'd also like to take a look at other parts of the world and, pop culture and art and architecture and food, and talk also about globalization, both its deficits and its benefits. And then other courses that aren't new, but in a sense have been, one, we have a revised Wellness 11. The state has required wellness every year, so we had revised the courses and created a 9 and a 10. And so now our juniors are ready for Wellness 11. And then also the same thing is true with world history, because the state required that 9th grade should be American history. Our students take 9th grade U.S., 10th grade U.S., and now they will take junior world history. World used to be a freshman course, so we've sort of inverted the order, and so the social studies department has been working on the curriculum for the world history. It will cover, I believe, 590 to the 90s and the present. Galloping through history might be, actually, it's real course. And then the only other thing that I would mention is that we have some courses that are not offered this year. We do try to rotate our electives so that students have an opportunity for that. And then sometimes some of our electives are follow-up, and we don't always have the enrollment to run it. So there are some courses that won't run this year but may run next year. An example might be economics or sociology. I also want to point out that we have made sure that the civics requirement for our students' civics projects are embedded in all our social studies electives. Our students need to take 3.5 years or 3-point credits of social studies. So they're obviously their US 1 and US 2, and the world history covers 3. And then the 0.5 is an elective. So we've worked with the curriculum with the social studies department, and they have created civics projects for all the electives. So as long as a student takes an elective before he or she graduates, they will have met the civic requirement from the state. We had the Seal of Biliteracy program in our program of studies last year. I have to be honest with you, we didn't really get it launched this year. So our concentration for next year is to start making students aware of that program and recruiting and reaching out to students about it. As Mr. Milady said, we are lucky to have the Essex After Dark program. We're going to continue with that. Our juniors will do their second year, and we're right now recruiting sophomores that may be interested. And the Essex Tech has included 3 new shops in that program. We're working on another agreement with North Shore Community College. We're doing some curriculum alignment with them now so we can do some more dual enrollment with North Shore. We do let students do dual enrollment with other schools as well if there's an opportunity. And then we also have virtual high schools. So those are the major features of the program of studies.
Thank you, Ms. Taylor. Is there a question, Mayor Cahill?
Sure. Thanks, Madam President. Thank you, Mrs. Taylor. That was really helpful to hear. Question or two about the After Dark program. So we have 13 students this year involved.
19.
Sorry, 19. And what's the expectation for next year? Do we know well what?
They will
in terms of
continue in
numbers?
the program they're in. And we believe, and I'm hopeful that the basic schedule is the same in the sense that they take their required Beverly classes in the morning, and then they have a break for lunch, and in the afternoon they go to their shop classes at Essex Tech.
But is the expectation by adding sophomores this coming year that how many more than 19 would you be gauging?
Oh, I see. So we recruit any sophomores that are interested. They apply. Essex Tech makes the final determination. And I need to remind people that they're also taking After Dark students from other area schools as well. So I guess it depends on the slots in the class. I will say, initially, we had last year 23 of our students apply, and all 23 were accepted. They made their numbers, a number of slots may change. We'll stay tuned with them on that, but I'm hopeful that any student that's interested would be able to get into a shop at Essex Tech.
Okay. And last question, I think, on this. What can you tell us about why they made the decision to not offer the electrical course of studies for the After Dark kids?
When they make shops available, it's because they have openings after they've met the needs of their students. So my understanding is electrical is full with Essex Tech students.
Okay. Sounds like there needs to be more conversation there. I mean, it's a field that's only going to grow, and it's going to grow fast.
No, I agree.
You know this, but I'll just say it aloud because I like to talk about this stuff. I mean, as you know, we heat and cool our buildings with mostly natural gas and oil, and that's going to be changing over to more electrical systems, as we try to meet greenhouse gas emissions targets. Similarly, the transportation sector is going to be in some significant part electrified. It just feels like that's a whole field that we need to provide more opportunity for young people, because it feels like that's going to grow and grow and grow. So it's interesting to hear that, and I'm interested in, some further conversations about how to pursue that.
So my guess is that the reason that for exactly everything you just said is the reason there's no openings in it right now.
Right.
So they
More of
have
our
just.
kids, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt.
No,
you.
that's okay. The program that we have is really a supplemental program after they've enrolled. And so they just completed their process for their sitting freshmen as they choose their fields. So my guess is that you're exactly right. The exact reasons you just described is why it's full. In terms of, I think there's a couple other factors. Other districts that are partnering with them all may already have their own electrical programs in their own. So if Salem and Peabody already offer that's another. We wouldn't be have enough enrollment to warrant another whole teacher or another whole section. So I think it's all part of that, but it certainly is worth more conversation and discussion.
Absolutely. I think that the tech's got to offer more. That's my take. And if I could, just on the world cultures course, do we know where the state is on curriculum frameworks and updates? And, it feels like it's time. Do we know if they are in the process of rewriting curriculum frameworks? I'm just trying to understand what will be.
For world language or for what in particular?
For history, social studies, because.
They had revised them, I think, 2017.
Right.
Maybe 2018. That's why the order of our curriculum courses, changed with their recommendations. So it's fairly recent. They've already revised their requirements. That's when the civic requirement also came in.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Robinson. You have a question?
I just wanted to say that's just an impressive number of electives for our high school students that are being offered. And also just a thought to maybe having the After Dark, the students who are enrolled in that program, having them come speak at our CECIL meeting, because I'd love to hear the firsthand experiences.
I will tell you that today I bumped into a young lady that's taking the graphic design course, and I told her we were starting to get some sophomores, to let sophomores know, and she goes, anytime you want me to speak to them, I'm going to tell them how great it is. And I said, fine, I'll probably track you down and videotape you, but I'll track her down and bring her to this meeting.
Thank you, Ms. Taylor. Thank you, Ms. Robinson. Do other school committee members, before we entertain a motion to approve the course of studies, have any questions for Ms. Taylor? Ms. Visnick?
Thank you. Ms. Taylor, I would like to ask about how far in advance do you do this kind of planning? In particular, we have a resolution that said, in 2025, there will be an additional graduation requirement around civil or racial justice or social justice. And so I wonder when we might see some of those offerings show up in the handbook. Will it not be until that year, or might it be a year or two in advance? Have you started thinking about that yet?
Yes, in fact, the American Identities course is our first attempt at creating a course that meets that requirement, though I would also argue our Facing History course does that now. And ultimately, I have to see how it gets designed. We're hoping World Culture course can do a piece of that. But the Social Studies Department, as you know, it was recommended over the summer by students on our Climate Committee, and at the same time, our Social Studies Department was taking a look at designing these courses. They had recommended several. They've brainstormed and reached out to other schools to take a look at what they have of courses that sort of take a look at this issue. They met with Dr. Morgan and reviewed the different ways the courses could go. So American Identities, in fact, I just got an email from one of my assistant principals who works with the department, and he with the social studies department, and he had sent me, they have given me the beginning of the course outline. I have 6 members of the social studies department working on the course. It's not complete, but I can sort of give you some of the essential questions they have here. How do internal and external factors contribute to the shaping of my identity and the identity of others? How do race, ethnicity, nationality, and culture shape identity? Why is dehumanization a recurring theme in history, and how has it impacted our society? How does narrative work to either humanize or dehumanize individual and or groups of people in society? They have a unit on gender, on class, the project will be on social justice and civics. So they're beginning that work. So they started brainstorming, I would say, in the summer, refining it further in the fall, and after reviewing with myself and Dr. Morgan, I officially started paying them to develop the curriculum in December, and they should have that completed hopefully by the end of March.
That sounds fantastic. Can I sign up?
Sure.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I see Mr. Milady with a question.
Thank you. Ms. Taylor, you mentioned at our CISL meeting about applying for Innovative Pathways grant. I was hoping you could talk a little bit about what that would mean for us if we are accepted.
Yeah, we have not begun the application process. We did do that 2 years ago, and we're not accepted. We're waiting until I have a committee that is doing career pathways. They created this course. They've been looking into the OSHA certification, and they're also taking a look at currently what we offer that meets the pathways we're going to create. And we're also working a partnership with North Shore and other area schools, because one of the goals for us for this career pathways is that we always have kids that may not go to school or college right away, but they may be interested in employment or in certification. And we've never had a sort of formal exit interview and a formal transition plan for them. So that's what we're working on first. So I think we need another year to fill in our holes and our gaps, and then we'll take a look again. What we have done is taken a look. The state offers 2 grants. There's early college and there's innovative pathways. And I don't claim to be really an expert on it. I have a staff member that's stronger than I am on this. But early college would encourage kids to take college and get both dual enrollment. But it doesn't, to put it as sort of a language we kind of understand, it's not a major. Innovative Pathways is a major. You're choosing certain classes that support environmental science. So we were going back and forth trying to decide which will be better for Beverly. We had started Innovative Pathways years before with our culinary program, with our business program. We had started a health science program, but it had some gaps in it. So we've gone back to that plan. So whatever grant we pursue, and I think we are leaning toward Innovative Pathways, we probably will not apply till next year, because we think one of the reasons why we didn't receive it is we didn't really have a strong structure. So we want to create the structure first. And we also want to make sure that we have a transition plan for kids, that they can go get a certification, or they have a college plan with North Shore. So that's what we're working on. And then Essex Tech came along, and that was too good not to grab. So we sort of veered off a little bit, but it's related. Thank you.
Okay, at this time, I'll go ahead and make the motion, and I'll be looking for a second. The motion to approve the BHS 2021-22 Program of Studies as included in our packet with the one edit as Ms. Taylor had outlined. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Bisnick. Do we have any more discussion or questions before I call the roll? Okay, I'll call the roll. Mayor Cahill?
Yes.
Ms. Coelho?
Yes.
Dr. McKenzie?
Yes.
Ms. Robinson?
Yes.
Mr. Milady?
Yes.
Ms. Bisnick?
Yes.
And Ms. Abel, yes. Okay, thank you so much for being with us, Ms. Taylor. And Mr. Milady, do you have just a little bit more on CISL when our next meeting?
Short and sweet. Our next meeting is March 3rd. Thank you very much.
March 3rd, okay. For the negotiating subcommittee, as I reported out, we met at 6 p.m. this evening, and we finished up a little bit of housekeeping with some minutes so that we could file those away after meeting with our bargaining units and AFSCME units. And we also heard from Dr. Churchick, as we also just heard from her tonight. And we don't have a planned negotiations meeting on the books yet. But we do plan to set time to meet with our units A, B, and C. If you remember, we have 1-year contracts, so we do need to get back into that process with them. And at this point, our attorneys are actually compiling the collective bargaining units. You will receive a request from Ms. Bergeron to sign those collective bargaining agreements. As a reminder, we are the employer of record, so each of us will be signing the actual documents. So look for that in your email. In terms of policy review subcommittee, that also will be soon to be put on our calendars. I'll check with the members of that standing committee or subcommittee to begin looking at our timelines. One of the policies that's more urgent, we will remember we had looked at in August, that's our harassment policy with regards to some of the changes in Title IX. We'll be bringing that to the Committee of the Whole at the end of the month on February 24th. So we will be doing some policy work as a group. And I thank Dr. Morgan and Dr. Churchek and others for doing the hard work on that, and we look forward to that. We have reached the last agenda item this evening, which is communications from our school committee members. Is there any member that wants to report out communications that they may have received since the last time we met? Mr. Milady.
So thank you. So I guess before I do that, maybe I should have jumped in when Dr. Chorchak presented her report. But for people at home, Ms. Abel, can you clarify and remind? So we had somebody come and present their concerns to us today. You read a letter from somebody. Can we just very briefly go over, the no surprise policy so people at home who are watching can understand that it's not that we're not taking or listening to people's concerns. It's that we have rules that we're trying to follow.
Sure. Yeah. Open meeting law makes it incumbent upon the body to post at least 48 hours prior to the meeting any topics that we are going to discuss. And therefore, we don't generally respond when we have people that our constituents that come to address the body. People always have the opportunity to call any member via the phone or send us an email or stop us on the street to discuss their concerns. But in keeping with the open meeting law, we do have to have agenda items posted. And the way that this school committee operates at our monthly meeting, we always leave open the opportunity for people to address the body formally to become part of the record. And in these remote times, we do that via the Zoom link, or people can submit an email that the chair will read into the record if they prefer. So that's the opportunity. There's always an opportunity to individually address us, but formally in the open meeting, it would be at our regular school committee meetings, which are generally the second Wednesday of the month. Does that address your concern?
I think it does, and I just think that, to remind people that, or just trying to understand that the feeling of not being listened to or feeling of being ignored, is real, and it can make someone feel isolated. So I think it's important to remind, the public that, we get your contacts, we get your emails and your phone calls, but we have rules that we have to follow. And part of that is, respecting our fellow members and our norms and protocols. So thank you very much. So in addition to, I think, the communication that they all received, I had a note of gratitude from a constituent about a specific member of the staff at Hannah Elementary School. And she's a para, and just the integral role that she's playing in the class and helping build culture. And those days where we were remote after vacation and before vacation, she specifically helped out this child and easing in, and the excitement for the kids to come back was just great to hear. So just wanted to share some good news. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other members that want to report out on communications? I see Ms. Bisnick's hand.
Thank you, Ms. Abel. I wish to ask you to remind or tell the newest members that we have access to the National School Board Association in SBA. And today, for instance, they ran a half-day webinar all on equity. And there was some fantastic programming. It was recorded. And as members, we have access to all of that programming. So if you're not on that email list, if you don't get their notifications, you should get on it. I was fortunate enough to be able to work my work schedule today to sit into a few hours of their multiple hour webinar, and it was absolutely fantastic. So, and if we don't get continuing education units, but if we needed them, if we did do that, they would actually give you continuing education units. So we have we spend that money, we should use it, take advantage of it.
Thank you for letting us know.
Yeah, thanks. So other than my PTO engagements at the various levels, I also receive lots of emails from different groups such as the NASB and also MASC. That's another one that we pay a membership towards. And today I was able to listen to the 70 on Chapter 70 with Ms. Novak. Those are also recorded and great resources. She specifically outlined today some of the Student Opportunity Act look-fors that we need to consider as we look at Chapter 70 funding going forward, and some of the hold harmless ideas that the legislature will probably be discussing as they entertain the governor's budget. So definitely lots of opportunities. Thank you for that reminder, Ms. Visnick. If you are not receiving emails from NASB or MASC, do let Donna or myself know, and we can figure out how to get your name on those distributions, because there are a wealth of information. I'm sure that we also have been getting a lot of emails from different vendors that want to sell us all kinds of magical solutions. If there is any of those that interest you, just work directly with Dr. Chirachek's office. No need to, yeah. Anyway, did any other members have any communications they want to report out? Okay, we've reached the point of the evening that I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Thank you.
Second.
And time out of the house, right? For some of us, at least. Okay, thank you, Mr. Mulady and Ms. Robinson. Since we are in remote session, I will call the roll. And I'll start with Mayor Cahill
Yes.
and Ms. Coelho,
Yes.
Dr. McKenzie,
Yes.
Ms. Robinson,
Yes.
Mr. Mulady,
Yes.
Ms. Visnick,
Yes.
and Ms. Abel. 7-0. It is 8:21 p.m. Thank you, thank you, BevCam, so much for always supporting us and broadcasting us. And everyone else, be well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.